When you talk about the greatest players that never were, or that were but didn't quite fulfill the potential that they created for themselves, you gotta talk about guys like Sandy Koufax, but also gotta talk about Tim Lincecum. Tim Lincecum has one of the most depressing careers in the history of baseball. And let's take a look at it. In 2008, Tim Lincecum starts to become an elite pitcher as he won the Cy Young Award after leading the MLB in strikeouts with 265. He also led in FIP with 262, fielding independent pitching. He led in hits per 9 with 7.2 and in home runs per 9 with 0.4 and in strikeouts per 9 with 10.5. He wins the Cy Young Award. 2009. Tim Lincecum comes out there again, wins 15 games, has a 2.48 ERA, leads the majors in strikeouts again with 261, has 4 complete games, the most in the majors, 2.34 FIP, the best in the majors, and 10.4 strikeouts per 9 innings, the best in the majors. He ends up winning his second Cy Young Award in a row and enters this exclusive club of pitchers that have won the Cy Young Award twice in a row. Tim Lincecum, one of the greatest primes ever, continued in 2010. 2010 he went 16-10. This year, he wasn't that great, but he was still pretty solid. He still led the majors in strikeouts and in strikeouts per 9, with 231 and 9.8 respectively. He had a 3.43 ERA, which is also pretty good. 2011 he was even better. Even though he finished with a 13-14 record, he had a 2.74 ERA, which was pretty good. And if you take a look at his job in the postseason, he won 3 World Series, 2010, 2012, and 2014. And in 2010, he went 4-1 with a 2.43 ERA, which is really good. Then in 2012, 1-1 with a 2.55 ERA, again, really good. And then in 2014, he pitched only 1 2/3 innings, but he didn't allow a single run in the World Series. So here's an interesting thing for Tim Lincecum. There are 2 pitchers in the history of baseball who have this combo: multiple no-hitters, multiple Cy Young Awards, multiple World Series, multiple All-Star games. The names of these 2 pitchers: Sandy Koufax and Tim Lincecum. Yeah, that's crazy, that's crazy to think about, because when the only guy that has been able to do that is the greatest player of all time, Sandy Koufax, that's very impressive. Not everyone can do something like that. Now let's take a look at the overall numbers for Tim Lincecum. From 2008 to 2011, he went 62-36, pitched 881 and 2/3 innings, 275 earned runs, which gives us a 2.81 ERA. That's one of the greatest primes of all time. But what happened? Tim Lincecum started having problems with his hip. Why? Because of his mechanics. The thing with Lincecum's mechanics is that he kind of leaned back after full stride. He would lean back. And as he was leaning back, he would start his torso rotation to drive his arm into the pitch. This obviously caused a bunch of problems for Tim Lincecum in the hip area. He started having a bunch of hip problems and he just couldn't keep going. He started having injuries, he started having some horrendous seasons, and I believe that if he had stayed healthy, if he had stayed consistently healthy, he would have been an easy lock for the Hall of Fame. But he retired, and just a horrible thing to happen to you if you're a pitcher, and if you're a pitcher that was as good as Tim Lincecum. He could have been one of the greats of the generation. He could have been next to Clayton Kershaw. He could have been next to Max Scherzer. He could have been next to Justin Verlander. But Tim Lincecum had injuries. Tim Lincecum, they never solved, as hitters didn't solve his mechanics, they never thought there was a problem there. Same thing with Sandy Koufax. And I mean, the thing with Koufax is that he was all talent, the greatest player of all time, but he's also the greatest player that never was. Because we never know what could have happened if he had continued to pitch after 1966. What would have happened if Tim Lincecum had continued at that level before the hip problems? Right? It's one of the greatest questions in baseball. And now many people think, oh well, I remember Tim Lincecum. What happened to Tim Lincecum? Because when he started having these injuries and when he started having this retirement or pre-retirement season, nobody cared about him anymore. He was just done. His career just didn't matter anymore when he pitched for the Angels and eventually retired. He retired as a two-time Cy Young winner, three-time World Series champion. Tim Lincecum, you gotta talk about Tim Lincecum as one of the greatest pitchers that never were. Right there with Sandy Koufax. I'm not saying that the quality was the same, because it wasn't. But the circumstances were pretty similar for both guys. So there you have it. That's Tim Lincecum. That's one of the greatest careers that never happened, or that almost happened, or that barely happened in the history of the game. And that's gonna do it for today. Hope you like, comment, share the video, subscribe, and of course, I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye. Thanks for watching.